Good evening, welcome to another episode of 75 at Sports Talk. And as usual, we have a lot to get into based on activities from the last week and obviously the last weekend. And I think it would be remiss of me not to at least mention the passing of a young basketballer. And I've had conversations with guys who've played with him over the years. I mean, growing up. And I guess from all indications, a very good player. I only got the opportunity to play with him once. I'm talking about Libo, known pretty much for his musical abilities, but definitely was impressed with how good he looked for his age, as I said on a number of occasions, and his exploits with the basketball. I remember playing a celebrity. The Renal Association had a fundraiser, and he was there, and we had a little conversation about him and basketball, and I was very, very impressed with the man that he was. So condolences go out to his family, friends, and the loved ones. All right, and while we're on condolences, of course, none of the teams seem to have fared very well at this weekend, and we have a picture of Libo there. Let me tell you, he looked, I remember that was probably about 2.5 years ago at the Boseju Indoor Facility. There was a celebrity sports day, and we had volleyball, we had basketball, cricket, we had small goals, and he was all in it. He was all into it. Obviously, a fundraiser for the Renal Association at that time, and so persons just came out there in support of awareness on kidney disease. It was the awareness month, and he participated thoroughly in that. And that's the memory I will have of him in terms of sports. I was the sporting event I was able to have any sort of socialization with him, and so I remember him for that. Definitely, of course, his music. His music was absolutely awesome. Of course, winning some regional awards for his production and mastering, and individuals who are friends with me in the music industry have said that he was very, very easy to work with. Although he was a perfectionist in terms of his music, he was definitely a pleasure to work with from all indications, and so he will definitely be missed. And I can definitely say from all indications he will never ever be forgotten for sure. Absolutely put St. Lucia on the map on a number of occasions in terms of our music, and so condolences to his friends and families. All right, okay, so yeah, as I was saying, in terms of the weekend, it was a weekend of just sadness. So West Indies, I guess for a number of people, they're not sad about what happened with West Indies, because we've grown used to the sort of volatility of the team at time, exploding very well and playing very good cricket, and then we know what happens sometimes, and so we come to expect such. But Afghanistan seem to have our number, and let me tell you, if at the end of a qualifier we pretty much finish in second place, when we get to the top 8 and we played in that competition, I mean, who knows? The discussion has been on whether or not that is the composition of the team we will travel to England and Wales with. A number of questions about Christopher Henry Gale, number of questions about the batting, still some questions about the bowling, a lot of questions about the bowling for sure, and so we do not know what will happen. But West Indies went down to Afghanistan, and Afghanistan won the World Cup qualifier final. If you look at the totality of the competition, West Indies won more games, but at the end of the day, Afghanistan won the actual cup. For some, it was a fit match, but for many people, it was a serious affair. But such is life. The West Indies women also went down. Again, no surprise there, considering they had not won a game on tour. West Indies women went down again to New Zealand. But what many St. Lucians were looking forward to was that game between Peshawar Zalmi and Islamabad United in the PSL, the Pakistan Super League. Of course, Captain Darren Sami was there, and he captained the team, and obviously many of us were waiting in earnest for another trophy from our champion, our local champion, but it was not to be. Again, Akmal, who played for the Stars last year, didn't do much. He did very well in PSL this year, but a lot of persons have drawn reference to that now infamous drop catch in the deep that he probably just should have left alone. But such is life. Darren Sammy and them had to suffer a defeat in that final. Again, congratulations to Darren Sammy, taking another team to a final after we saw what happened in Hong Kong, taking another team to a final. There's no question about this man's leadership quality, and so congratulations to Darren Sammy and Peshawar Sammy. Okay, locally on the weekend, we got some results from the Castries of Football Council. Again, St. Lucia, when it comes to a weekend, and then the Monday, if I have to prepare a sports package that reflects everything that happens in St. Lucia on a weekend, I would need about 45 minutes. So it's just impossible to just put everything in. And so I thank God I have this sports show on a Monday night to get through some of the press releases that we did not get to during our sports package. And just the sheer amount of football played in Castries, it's almost difficult to get into it because of the amount of games that are being played right now. So I prefer to pretty much just make mention of it on a Monday and pretty much ask everybody to tune in for Sports Night for 758 Sports Talk to actually get all the information. All right, so the CFC Promotional League, we had the Flow Lancers and the Valley Soccer Club. And the head in the press release says from the CFC, Castries Football Council League, had to share the points. And of course, I was at the Corinth playing field, and obviously you have some pictures there from the action at the Corinth playing field. Top of the table clash between Flow Lancers FC and Valley Soccer Club lives up to its billing, and it was a very tense affair on Saturday at the Corinth playing field as action resumed in the 2018 Central Castries Promotional League. Flow Lancers were without their former player coach Trevor Crazy Daniel, and the Valley Soccer Club, the upstarts, wanted to take advantage of this. Valley Soccer Club got a dream start with a goal in the 19th minute as Flow Lancers FC were immediately placed on the back foot. The more experienced Flow Lancers team did not panic and they stepped up the pressure. The match changed dramatically midway in the second half when Marian Jabatis of Flow Lancers FC and Trinan Stava of Valley Soccer Club were both shown red cards for violent conduct. This seemed to spur on Flow Lancers FC, and their persistency bore fruit when Jade Jeremy converted a penalty in the 15th minute, 15 minutes before the final whistle to bring the teams level. Thereafter, Flow Lancers searched for the equalizer. Lynch Isidore's poor finishing and did some fine work as he salooned through the Valley Soccer Club defense, only to shoot wide. Now, in other match of the weekend, Naya FC, and we've seen pictures of that game right now. Naya FC, they are at the bottom of the Castries Football Council table. They took on Naya FC. They took on, in fact, Naya people probably going to say, what? Pioneers are rooted at the bottom of the table. They took on Naya FC. Naya FC is pretty much close to the top. They have the game in hand. When we look at the point standings in a little bit, they kept FC Pioneers rooted to the bottom of the table with relative ease. They won that game 2-0. Christopher St. Catherine from the back of the net in the 3rd minute. Travis Valset doubled Naya FC's lead in the 41st, and the result looked inevitable. All right, so after the first round of action, Valley Soccer Club, they are on top with 5 points after 3 matches played. However, Naya FC and Flow Lancers FC are nipping at their heels, both on 4 points with a game in hand. All right, these two teams have not met in the first round, so it will be all to play for when they play in the next round of fixtures. The funny thing is that was the first scheduled match for the season, but we know that the field was not marked, and so we still wait in earnest for that game. So if you look at the point standings now, Valley Soccer Club, they have 5 points, but we're seeing they've scored 3 goals, and 3 goals have been scored against them. I think that must have been an error. I'm seeing a goal difference of -2. I don't think that they have not lost the game, so that would kind of be impossible. Naya FC are on 4 points as well. Flow Lancers, they are also on 4 points, and Pioneers, they relish at the bottom of the table. They are on 0 points. So the schedule, Saturday 10th. Okay, so that's already gone. Let's see. Let's go down. We're looking at case on the 18th. So the next set of games would be on Saturday 7th April at 4 p.m. We'll see Naya FC. They will come up against Flow Lancers at 4 p.m. That's at the Corinth playing field. On Sunday, the 8th of April, I guess after the Easter break, we will see FC Pioneers. They will take on Valley Soccer Club. Then we'll see on Saturday, April 14 from 4 p.m. we will see Flow Lancers FC play Pioneers. On Sunday 15th, we'll see at 4 p.m. Naya FC versus Valley Soccer Club. So very interesting encounters scheduled there in the Castries Football Council. Naya FC and Flow Lancers on the 7th will be a very good game. The winner of that game will pretty much go on top of the table. And if that game draws, then we'll see a three-way tie atop the Castries Football League. We will see Valley Soccer Club on 5 points. You'd see Naya FC on 5 points and Flow Lancers on 5 points if that game was to end in a draw. But the winner of that game would move on 7 points and they would be on top of the Castries Football Council's promotional league. And then we will see the following Sunday another interesting encounter. Naya FC, they will play Valley Soccer Club again, and that game will be very interesting as those teams are all in search of a promotion to the President's Cup. All right, so that's the Castries Football Council promotional. Now the CFC Youth, again, a lot of information coming out of the CFC Youth Football, and so we couldn't get to that through the news. Action in the Peter Malta Castries Football Council St. Lucia Football Association Northern Zone Youth League continued on Saturday and Sunday at the Leclerc Corinth playing field. On Saturday, it was the turn of the under-10 players as second round action got underway. In the first match of the day, Valley Soccer Club maintained their 100% record with a hard-fought 2-1 victory over Marcy Stores Northern United. Thierry Morel found the back of the net for Marcy Stores United, and Valley Soccer Club were aided by an own goal, and then Omarion Edwin sealed the victory. In the other Group B match, Flow Lancers were in a goal-scoring mood again. They scored 7 past big players. Left footer Kenan Joseph was dominant throughout the match and he recorded a well-deserved hat-trick. He was ably supported by Nelson William with a brace, that's 2 goals, and there were lone strikes from O'Neill DeMille and Christian Amide. Alright, Kellan Vidal got the lone goal for his team. In Group A, VSADC Pioneer under 10s were once again led by the prolific duo of Janad Modest and Amani Lesmore. They both scored in the first half to give VSADC Pioneer a comfortable lead. In the second half, New Generation, they were spurred by a very skillful Mackendy Kade, who displayed outstanding ball control and technique to put his team within a goal. However, Amani Lesmore set up Jojan Degazor's Francis with a simple tap-in to secure a 3-1 victory for VSADC Pioneer. Okay, those games definitely at the Grand Riviere playing field. You can see some of the pictures there, some of the ambience, some of the young players. All right, the B1 under 10s, they displayed great determination, and thanks to a goal from Joshua Herman, they secured their first victory at the tournament with a 1-0 result. In under 17 action, 3 matches were played, and all results were lopsided. At Corinth, Marcy Stores Northern United, their second consecutive 6-0 victory they handed to Bays. Jeremiah Justin, of course, a former national under-15 captain. He scored a hat-trick. He was supported by a brace by Turjat Stava. He's obviously the leading goal scorer. And Samuel Lawrence, also from the Grosley community, with a goal in that game for Northern United. Corinth, in another match, big players were in a goal-scoring mood. They unleashed an attack at bits. On Rage FC, they won 6-1. But 3 players scored braces. That's Johnny Lesmore. That means he had 2. Kevin Francis 2. And Cyrus Hubert. Giovanni William had a goal for Radri FC. In the other under-17 match, Central Castries Derby, VSADC, they took on Flow Lancers in the under-17 division. VSADC Lucas Aid under-17, they rushed out to an early lead thanks to a powerful strike from Anthony Mondesi from outside the box. An exquisite direct free kick from a national youth player, Simeon Francis, and a left foot rocket by the reigning St. Mary's College Junior Football of the Year, Akil Gabriel. Despite being 3 goals down, Flow Lancers did not give up, and they took advantage of lax defending by VSADC to pull a goal back as Daniel Amide scoring there. The second half, 3 more goals were scored as Mondesi completed his hat-trick. That game ended 5-2. Theo Pierre also got on the goal-scoring sheet for Flow Lancers FC. So the tournament takes a break next weekend, just as the CFC Senior Tournament, and the teams will be participating in the Free Kick Foundation Easter Tournament. All right, so Saturday, April 7th, we will see action resume at the Grand Riviere playing field. All right, so that's your update on the CFC Youth Tournament, and we did a while ago the CFC Promotional League. All right, also on the weekend, we saw some interesting development in the sport of rugby. As a matter of fact, for the last couple of weeks, we've been getting a lot of information on what's been going on in rugby, and I was able to. All right. Yeah, I was able to go on over to the Leclerc playing field where it was just a buzz of activity on Saturday. We saw a Brown University from the US coming over with their rugby football teams, and also we saw with the Warriors and the others from the from the St. Lucia contingent. We saw both male and female rugby, and while I was there, I took the opportunity to have an interview with Mr. Roger Butcher, who is the president of the St. Lucia Rugby Football Union in locally, and I guess we will get to that interview right now. All right, so give me a name and designation for the record.
Okay. I am Roger Butcher, president of the St. Lucia Rugby Football Union.
All right, what do we have going on today?
Today is the our first Easter Rugby Sevens. We have invited Brown University from New York to come down to play. We have about 4 teams. We have 2 local teams, Rogues and Whiptails. 1 foreign team, which is St. Vincent, and Brown University has fielded 2 teams, Brown 1 and Brown 2. We also have 3 female teams, 3 local female teams, and we are taking part in a 7-a-side tournament. Brown University is here for the week. On the Tuesday, they're having a junior 15-a-side match at Leclerc, and on Thursday they're playing the seniors 15-a-side match.
All right. So how are things going so far today?
So far, so good. Everybody seems to be pretty pleased that well, A, the facilities, B, the level of the matches, and C, the level of the refereeing and officiating.
All right, we've been hearing about some really nice developments in the sport of rugby over the last couple of weeks and for the coming months. How are things shaping up in that field?
Well, if you're talking about developments in us acquiring a field, well, that is definitely a positive. There was a film that says build the field and they will come, and that is what we are actually on. We are going to build the field, and hopefully our rugby fraternity will grow. In terms of what's going to happen this year we intend, as of now, but we are going to be having our executive AGM meeting in about a week or so. But it is hoped that the intention this year is to go to the RAN 7-a-side tournament and also the Barbados Sevens, both of which are taking place in Barbados, one in December and one in September.
All right, so lots of interesting development in the sport of rugby. Funny thing is, rugby was perhaps one of the only sports that I did not participate in growing up in the community of Grosley. And trust me, when I was on the field at Leclerc on Saturday, I absolutely understood why. Let me tell you, I saw a game between some of the local girls, and let me tell you, they went at it. They went hard, let me tell you. And I'm looking at the equipment used, and it's similar to what you would use for football. And I mean, there's very little there, and I mean, the tackling is relentless. I mean, they don't play at all, man. I mean, I just sat down there and I said to myself, wow, you have to be really gutsy to get into that game. But obviously they are well trained, they seem to be well coached. I'm listening to instructions from the sideline, and let me tell you, it was a sight to see. I must say, we need to encourage more young people to get involved in the sport. Obviously you would need some, from what I'm seeing, you definitely need some technique. Speed is required for sure. We've seen some of the individuals from the sideline cheering their teammates on, and you know, it was just absolutely amazing just looking at that. We will see an example of what I'm talking about in a couple of seconds when I talk about tackles that are relentless. Look at this. Just just like, wow, it almost looks like glorified fighting. Like, you know, and I guess it's a way to control your anger. A lot of times you hear boxing being used to teach people anger management and controlling yourself and that sort of stuff. But let me tell you, that sport looks absolutely amazing to watch, for sure. And the team in orange seem to have been dominating most of the proceedings for that game. My only disappointment is not actually getting the scores later on via press release. I guess eventually we will get that information so we can actually read out a news story for you. But what I can tell you is on Saturday, a lot of activities in rugby. And from all indications, the week before there was some the breaking ground of the actual field in St. Lucia near the Sarah Simmons Secondary School. So definitely good stuff. And we just heard from Mr. Butcher build the field, and they will be there. And so definitely a sport that is growing. We've seen even at the South Louis Community College a number of young individuals getting involved in the sport, and I mean, any youth involvement in sport is good for our nation. So we definitely want to encourage the Rugby Football Union to continue doing their thing. And we're seeing right now the guys from Brown University as at the Leclerc playing field, and let me tell you, the men, they went hard as well. Definitely went hard. But I seem to have seen more of the pulling and the jostling from the young ladies. Very, very aggressive, and it's just a part of the vibe at the Leclerc playing field. So, definitely looking forward to some more rugby information. And as soon as we get it, we will pass it on to you guys. All right, so while on the weekend, we mentioned on Friday that we were definitely going to be doing sports on the block, and we went over to a number of the playing fields, a number of individuals. We asked pretty much who was going to win this year's UEFA Champions League, and we had a lot of different opinions, and we have a segment of our population that are just biased to one particular team. And I guess when you listen to Sports on the Block right now, you'll understand what I'm talking about. Who's going to win the European Champions League?
Easily, Barcelona.
Why?
Messi.
Because of Messi?
Yeah, no more question.
Yeah, ref. Who's going to win the Champions League?
Champions. For me, I think it's Barca.
Why?
Because they've been dominating a lot of teams lately, so I figure that's easily there this time.
Barcelona?
Yeah.
Why?
They're a better team right now in the competition.
I would say I'll still go with Real Madrid.
Real Madrid? Why?
I see they're confident in the Champions League. Not in La Liga, but in Champions League, they have a certain confidence about them. So I believe, they're going to do treble this year and take the Champions League 3 times.
Who's going to win the Champions League?
Barca.
Why?
Because that's the best team.
That's the best team? What do you think, young man? Yeah, no?
I don't know besides that.
Let's win this year's Champions League.
Bayern Munich.
Why?
Because Robin there.
Because Robin there.
And Lewandowski and Manu out.
And Manu out?
Yeah, we out.
Aye. So who you think?
Real Madrid.
Where? Never.
Why?
First free. How do you mean? Zidane? No matter how the Champions League is only.
Aye. Yeah, who else?
boy.
My side not there, boy.
We just side.
Arsenal.
Forever.
Forever.
Champ. But who you feel going?
Barca, man.
Barca?
Of course.
Aye.
Of course, Barca must win that.
Aye.
Barcelona, man.
Who you feel going in the Champions League?
Real.
Why?
Because who is the best? That is why.
The best.
They're losing that.
Aye.
Free pit.
Who you feel going in the Champions League?
I believe Barca will win the Champions League.
Why? You had to tell me why.
Because we're the best in the world.
The best in the world?
Yeah.
Aye. Nobody else? Who will win Champions League this year? What do you think?
I tell you that on my side, nothing.
Your side not in it? My side not in it, but I still have an opinion, you know. Who's it? What do you think? Real. Barcelona. You ready? Who will win Champions League this year? Why?
Real Madrid is the greatest.
Greatest?
Yeah.
Messi
is the greatest.
Who else?
Look at City, man.
Oh yeah. Finally somebody agree with you. Who win the
Man
championship?
City, brother.
Yeah,
Man
why
City
you say
alone.
Man City?
Because they're the best.
The best.
And they're performing.
And who coaching them?
I don't give a
Wow, St. Lucians, let me tell you. Barcelona have a lot of fans in St. Lucia. I suspect St. Lucia going to turn to Spain just now because so many people said Barcelona. Everybody is Barcelona. Some people said Real Madrid, Man City. One person said Manchester City, and one person said Bayern Munich. I personally believe that Manchester City with Pep Guardiola on that bench, and with the firepower that Manchester City have and the total team and Vincent Kompany, if fit, I think they will be very, very difficult to beat in this year's Champions League. I just think if it's any year they can do it, it would be this year. And so it will be very, very interesting to see. I'm pretty sure people will be WhatsApping me at 4880929. That's 4880929. You can send me what you think. We certainly have a lot to discuss tonight. We're going to take our Blue Waters break, but when we come back, we're going to be talking about the Dominic Fede Cup. We're going to be talking about activities from as close as Marigot all over to the Canaries community. We're going to be talking about developments in that area when it comes to sport. I have tonight with me a very, very special guest. We go way back, to say the least, way back. And so when we come back, I'm going to introduce our guest and we're going to get into a discussion on all things sports, not just the Dominic Fede Cup, but we're going to talk about cricket academies, cricket development. We're going to talk about everything to do with sports. So when we come back, we have a lot for you. Stay tuned. Okay, welcome back to 758 a Sport Talk, and I guess you could already see who my guest is for the night. I have with me the parliamentary rep for the Ansari Canaries constituency, and we have seen the culmination of an interesting competition on the west coast of our island. And so to speak about this and just sports in general tonight is Mr. Dominic Fede. Let me tell you, a lot of people do not know this, so I won't even let you tell them. But
what are you going to tell them?
I'm going to tell them. This guy came into my neighborhood and pretty much was the first individual to take a compo, as we would call it.
You remember those days? Yeah.
A compo, the hardball, and I remember him flinging it nicely in my direction.
It's called a toss, yes.
It was a
I
toss.
tossed it, yeah.
In my direction. And that time I was used to just win ball, a tennis ball, doing whatever you're playing, bouncing it and that sort of stuff. I had never, ever played cricket in my entire life. Never. And this guy was the first guy to toss it my way. And let me tell you, I ran for cover. Mr. Dominic, Honorable Dominic Fede, welcome.
Lovely to see you,
to
my
the
friend.
set.
Lovely to see you. Lovely to be here. You know, I was going to say on your cricket, I think that you were so talented as a sportsman. Mm-hmm. You could have been a cricketer for the Windward Islands if you wanted to.
Yeah.
You were doing well in track and field.
Yeah.
And I think that you weren't sure which one to do.
As a matter of fact, the first time I heard Jack of all trades and master of none was from this guy. You're Jack of all trades.
You did very, very well. I think you went on to be a better player than I was.
Yeah.
I certainly loved the game more than you, but the game certainly loved you more than it did love me.
Yeah.
And you were an exceptional cricketer. You bowled very, very quickly. Batted well. We played Grosley under 19 together. It was exceptional. Those were the good old days.
Definitely. Speaking of Grosley under 19, I have a question for you.
Sure.
Just so that persons can get an idea of you growing up in the community of Grosley. Your first 100. Do you remember your first 100? And can you give us the story behind your very first 100 in terms of playing a local cricket in St. Lucia?
That would have been, is it Babino for us playing field? Yeah. I remember the bowl as well. Sikanda Gustav, very good seamer. I think he bowled left, didn't he?
Yeah.
And we also had Estefan, who's now a police officer, in fact. And I see him from time to time. But those were lovely days. It was the JQ Charles sponsored under 19 cricket tournament. And, you know, a lot of the good young cricketers came through. I think that day I was vexed with my brother Jose because he came in and we were trying to draw the game because we were playing a 2-day format.
Yeah.
And I think he went on and played some shots. I mean, he loved playing shots. And I said, well, listen, let's go out there and just bat out until the end and get home with 8 points. You know, we were already safe. But he was obviously like you guys like to play shots. But it was a great game. We came out winning.
Yeah, I remember you scored 109, and I think you probably faced about 200 deliveries.
I was Jeffrey Walker. Yeah.
You were absolutely patient to say
well,
to say the least.
All of you guys batted around me. That was my role.
Open the batting,
Yeah, and you know, I just at that level though, when you're batting for so long, youngsters became frustrated very quickly.
Yeah.
You know, a bowler bowling 5 overs and you middle everything, whether you're on 0 or 15, he's already lost.
Yeah.
So that was really, really good, and I really had good fun doing that, and it's good to see you. We played on Christmas Day, remember that?
Yeah.
That was crazy, the good old crazy days.
Every day we got an opportunity, we'd be on the Grizzly court,
Correct,
you know,
correct.
sweating and that sort of stuff.
Amazing,
Yeah,
incredible.
Yeah, absolutely.
Incredible.
And I mean, your love for cricket especially, I mean, it pretty much went into your career. It followed you into your career.
It did. I did commentary, as you know.
Yeah.
That was a lot of fun. And I can still remember it. It was, I think someone had not turned up for a commentary stint at the Minder Phillip Park. And they were short one person, and I said, well, you know, why don't you give me a try? And I think it was Reds was part of the panel, Ryan O'Brien, and I think Red said, well, have you done this before? I said to him, yeah, sure, many times in the shower. So that was the little joke.
To break the ice.
It was a very, very good and a tremendous opportunity. I thoroughly enjoyed it. And then we did the academy as well.
Yeah.
When I worked at Sandoz, organized that for about 16 years. And it's good to see them still involved in cricket as a corporate sponsor, doing the under 15 tournament. So that's very, very pleasing to see. Yeah.
Yeah, and just to give St. Lucia more, I mean, idea of you as an individual and family, Sujo Fidi was the closest friend that I've ever had.
Yes.
Is also your brother.
Correct.
What is it like trying to nurture this young talent and get him to get involved in cricket and stay disciplined?
Serge certainly enjoyed the game more than I did. I think I was a bit too serious about everything.
Yeah.
And you guys went out there and played like kids should. And I think I took it a bit too serious and didn't take a lot of risk, and you guys did.
Yeah.
And I think I wish in many ways that I took risk and play more shots and, you know, play the hook shot, play the cut shot. I didn't do as much.
You just like to just drive it.
I just waited and waited and waited all day. As
till like
you
Kingdom
back
Come.
then. 2020 proved a bit difficult because
that would have
you know that is certainly a modern part of the game that's not conducive to test batsmen, you call them, right? Yeah.
So there's
but Serge has done very, very well. Made our family very proud. Went on to play for the Windward Islands, as you know.
Yeah.
Played for
Captain
West Indies under
15
15 as well, and did a tremendous job. I mean, we just loved it. Jose went on to play for St. Lucia as well. I think that year the tournament was in Dominica. And you played for St. Lucia at the under 19 level, didn't you? Right?
Like the funny story, I got called to the national under 19 cricket team. At the same time, I got called to the Carifta team in Bahamas, and I went to the Minder Phillip Park for training that day. And there was under 19 cricket training, and there was Carifta training, and so I was told,
you need to pick. What are you
I
doing?
need to pick what is going on. I remember
what are you
Brian
doing?
Calix was the coach at that time, and I remember Henry Bailey and the others from track and field asking me, well, you need to pick. You need to pick, and I chose to go to.
I mean, you were
Bahamas.
the best among us playing the back foot drive.
Yeah,
You were just
I love
absolutely brutal, and the back foot drive. And hit it very, very hard. And
Good
from
memory.
a guy who came from being afraid of the ball
Well, yeah.
to play for his country, that's
Yeah.
pretty good.
Yeah.
Actually, that's pretty good.
So before we get into Dominic Fede Cup and that sort of stuff, I guess most people want to know, what do you think about the state of West Indies cricket and where it is
Wow,
right
it pains
now?
me.
Right?
It pains me. It's been on the slide for many, many years, as you know. The game of cricket is of significant importance to the West Indies. It really has helped us to evolve as a nation and as a people. When we were trying to find ourselves, you know, if you go way back, when the first great batsman was George Challoner back in the 1920s. This was before we gained Test status. Perhaps the captain of the West Indies team was more important to position than the premier or the governor of the respective islands, as it was then termed. And you know, you come back to the days when you had people like George Headley who played, and you know, when you read about, he was called the Atlas because he carried all of the responsibility of the West Indies batting on his shoulder. And so just like the globe, he carried the whole world on his shoulder, and he was known as the Black Bradman, and just played exceptionally. And you know, obviously I have never seen a video of Headley batting, but what I have read is that he has the third highest average behind Dan Pollock and Sedona Broadman. And you know, he made the team in 1929. A lot of people felt he should have played in 1928, and really embarrassed the selectors in the colonial tournament then, and did perform exceptionally. I think he scored hundreds in both of the innings of his debut match. Exceptional. But his legacy is still very, very much alive. His son, Ron, went on to play for Worcestershire in English cricket, and his grandson is Dean Headley. So I think that would mean that the Headley family would be perhaps the only family, or one of very few, to have played 3 generations of Test cricket, which is pretty amazing.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
And then, you know, when you try to live moments like Frank Worrell being the first black captain, and what that meant for the people of the Caribbean was extremely exceptional. And, you know, come now to Lloyd's team, 1975, and then Richard and Richardson carried on the mantle until 1995. In 20 years, we were the champions undisputedly.
Undisputed. Like, you could just rest assured.
Not in
we were going to
basketball,
pull it out.
not in football, not in netball,
The whites
not in
gentleman's
any
game.
other sport has this ever been accomplished where a team has reigned as the champs for 20 years. And it's really
champions of the world.
of the world,
Of the
absolutely,
world.
in what they do. And so it's really painful for a lot of people to watch and to look and to see that we can't qualify for the World Cup, and
we have to go for the
we have
qualifiers.
to go through the qualifiers
and still lose the
When-
qualifier final.
when, you know, in 1979, everyone, before the World Cup started,
Before
everyone
ball was bowled.
declared who the
Who the
winner
winner
was, you know,
Yeah.
and that kind of thing. So, but it comes back to the 3 pillars of sport development. I think, one, you've got to have a proper structure for harnessing and nurturing talent. I believe in academies. If you don't have academies, you can have the best facilities, which is the second pillar. But the second pillar is related and complements the first. But if you don't have good facilities, you can't have champions. You will end up like us in the Caribbean. You know, we have a Darren Sammy that emerges now and then. A Johnson Charles may come, and then maybe for 10 years there might be nothing. And then for another 10 years you might find someone else. So in order to have consistency, you must have development, you must have facilities, yes. But then as well, you must have good policies to enable sport development. And that's very, very key. And then the 4th pillar, I believe, is to create an environment for people to compete and play. And, you know, we've seen a breakdown of the club structure, not just in cricket, but across all sports across the Caribbean. We really need to reinvigorate that club structure to bring it back to establish very strong clubs so that we create opportunities for people to compete.
All right. So that just takes us fast forward in terms of your life to, active politics and then ancillary canneries you're given the responsibility for by the people of that area. We talk about facilities, the sporting landscape. What has this been for you? What has been for the last year and a half the experience for you in terms of working in that sort of geographical location and obviously the demands of the young people in that area?
Well, it's been an absolute joy and honor to have been given the opportunity to serve one's country and community. And, I'm humbled by the fact that I was given that chance. And I continue to strive very hard to see how best we can improve people's lives, to see how we can invest in sports. Prior to the elections, I did invest a lot in organizing a lot of tournaments, competitions, without the resources of governments. And we did a lot of work in the Roseville Valley area. I'm very inspired and moved by some of the young people, how determined they are. There's a young guy named Simon Bolai from Munseyville. And, he came to my office one day and said, we want to do a tournament. Our playing field is in a mess. And, it really was a pasture for cows. There were holes everywhere. Wow. There were swamp lands and so on. And we quickly got some money together, and we went and got some approval for sand from the Roseville Beach. And we did a self-help kind of enhancement of the field. And this self-help enhancement, what it did was it created an opportunity for us to start a tournament. And we did. And in those days you had T Valley, you had Munda, you had Jackmel playing by itself. They're playing now with Munda. We also had Roseau, Cooleytown, and Sarat giving a lot of support, and then you had the Darando team from Millet competing. And it was very, very good. It started out as a 8-a-side tournament. And it was, I think you came and covered it.
I came and
covered
covered it,
times.
of course.
The crowds were absolutely fantastic.
Amazing. That people all around the field, you brought the floodlights,
correct.
you all lit the playing field.
Right. We brought in construction lights.
Yeah.
When it came to the finals and the semi-finals, because we were on very low budget, we didn't have the kind of money to light up the field.
Yeah, I remember that very well.
But the night football was very, very popular, and people enjoyed it. We had 1,000 people attending at a lot of the games, especially the semi-finals and finals. And it was a very, very good community spirit that it engendered. So I really did enjoy that, and this really is a continuation of that. We are working now to rectify some challenges we had in the Canaries field.
Yeah, definitely. Canaries people would definitely want me to ask about that. That playing field Canaries. Let me tell you, perhaps one of the more talented footballing, zooming on footballing communities in St. Lucia. They won a Visions competition last year, got to the finals of Black Hat, they lost to Viewfort, and
I think they won Super League as well.
Well, the Super League, Vision Super League, yeah. And the question then goes to where they train, and then you're like, wow, these guys have been doing this. Divorced from actually having the playing facility that they deserve.
So when you see people that are committed like that, and people that are, that inspires you as an MP, because that says to you that you must absolutely fix this, and you must do something about the plight of these young people. So when we came in, what happened was the facility, there was a bad wiring, faulty issues with the wiring of the lights that they had constructed in the previous administration. And we are currently rectifying that now. And if you went there, you will see extensive work happening where they're resurfacing the field and so on. So yes, that's well on the way, and it should be done in a couple of months, and we should open that facility.
Definitely.
So I'm really excited about that. It's one of the most important things that I had to do, especially because the team was winning. But not only that, you have a very strong interest in football, definitely. They also have the champion netball team for many years.
When you
they're
talk about
unstoppable
Soufriere
and unbeatable.
Comprehensive Secondary School and you look at the composition of Soufriere,
Yeah.
they absolutely dominated netball. I mean, the twins, to look at Megan Nestor,
Yes.
from the Canaries community.
Absolutely.
And I mean, it's just like there's just a wealth of talent in that area. And so,
Abundance.
yeah, absolutely.
Abundance. And so it's really good to see. So then we got to get the court facility up. It hasn't been functioning well since Hurricane Thomas. It needs some repairing work. So we should undertake this just after the completion of the field project. So this will be very, very good. And the ancillary playing field, we have some rectification to do there as well. There's need for seating facilities. As you can see,
Yeah.
we're standing on the road now
Yeah.
as we're looking at football.
On the left-hand side, there's a little slope.
Yes, the embankment. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that is an area that we can potentially put some seats in to improve the facility, so that you have a more conducive area for spectators and for supporting, and it creates a nice energy and aura when everyone is within the arena and cheering their team. That energy behind the players, that energy in the game, makes it very, very exciting. But I believe, Kenson, that over the years that sports has not been looked at as a vehicle through which we can not just develop people socially and develop the youth, but as well to develop our country economically. I think that the time has come for us to establish these academies and to have a structured framework whereby you can produce champions.
Yeah.
I mean, I looked at you interviewing the young people at one of the football games, and look at how they are in awe. Look at the passion. Look at the energy that comes from football. And, it goes to show you the level of interest. It goes to show you the level of motivation that is behind it. And if we can harness those interest and harness the talents, then I believe that we could, as a small country, produce many champions to go participate in these leagues. But it cannot just happen. Sports development and sports management is very deliberate, and you've got to ensure that it's deliberate. So I'm very, very pleased. I know that the government will be announcing very shortly, but you must have heard about our plans to establish the National Sports Academy, and that's going to be at the Grosley Secondary School. When we came in, we looked at all of our facilities. We looked at a dwindling school population. We looked at the need for sports to play that better role in the development of our country. And we saw that the Grosley Secondary School was ideally placed amidst a number of sporting facilities. So if you think of the Bosses U cricket facility, which can easily host football activities as well. You think of the indoor facility, the swimming pool at the aquatic center, you have the indoor facility, the national tennis facility. They're all within that facility. And this now will be a hub where sportsmen island-wide will have a chance to come, pursue their academics and their sporting aspirations at the same time.
But I think, I'm really curious about how this is going to work, considering right now we have a inter-secondary school sort of format where schools play against, I shouldn't say inter-secondary schools, inter-schools. So you have Hess playing against Castries Compre and that sort of stuff. But when you take the best sporting talent and you put it in one school, what does it do to that sort of competition? What is the I have not had an opportunity to ask those questions, so I guess that's why I'm asking you. You're not the Minister of Sports, but how exactly is that going to work though? At the end of the day, you go to a school and you may have had some academic prowess, but you are able to play some sport. And you want to band together and form a team. You're going to play against a school at Grosley that has pretty much brought in the best talents. What will that do to that competition?
Well, I think we have to ask ourselves a question now, and you've clearly identified one of the challenges that could potentially come up with such a structure. But I believe that we have to ask ourselves, if the current structure that exists, if we will produce winners with it, if the answer is no, then I believe we shouldn't be afraid of going in uncharted waters. I think we should be bold, we should be courageous, we should go forward, and then let's see how it works.
Okay.
But clearly there will be an advantage, but there will also be an advantage for the country as well, in that you have a structured environment where our children will have an opportunity to come into this environment to pursue their academics and pursue their sporting aspirations. But unless you have a proper vehicle to take them from A to B, talent can only get you that far. It has to be harnessed, it has to be managed. And, and when you ask me what was wrong with West Indies cricket these days, it is a lack of management, and it's a lack of development of the talent. If you go and you look at some of the very latest technologies and some of the advanced coaching methodologies that are being used in some of our teams, you will see that we are way behind the rest of the world.
Yeah.
And we can't afford to be way behind. We have to give our kids the very best there is, so that they can compete and give them a fair chance of competing. Of course, all of this comes at a cost, but it would be very difficult for us to do it for all the schools. But would it be easier to do it for a concentrated elite set of people that have decided from very young, both in terms of talent and both in terms of character, that this is where they would like to go?
Okay. All right. So definitely Dominic Fideka, because we boy, time is flying so quickly, and
Yes.
I have so many messages on this platform already.
Oh,
that
yeah?
I'm not running into, but I want to make sure I give you an opportunity to speak on the
the
first ever
very
Dominic
excited,
Fideka.
very excited about it. You've been seeing it's been taking place at the Ancillary Playing Field and at Marigot, and it's exceptional. To just go and watch the level of excitement. We have 16 teams, 7 from the Roseau Valley area. I think they have 5 from Ancillary and another 3 from Canaries. But it's exceptional to just watch it. We have 3 various districts. But it's about sport development. It's not only about politics. Yes, most of the teams are from my constituency, but we also have teams from Castries South and from Castries Southeast as well. So that we have a very good mix, and we bring all of the surrounding communities together so that we can play together. Look at the excitement on the screen. And, just to see the young people competing, building, discipline and tenacity from this opportunity is just amazing. One of the things we're trying to do is, following this, we would like to have a triangular of the 3 lakes, Canaries, Ancillary, and also the Roseau Valley League. And I think it will be a sort of, they would play each other twice, and then the top 2 will go to the finals in a 2 best in 3 scenario for the winner. So, but again, this is one of the first pillars. So you create the opportunity to compete, but you must as well create the opportunity for a development to take place, for us to harness the talent that you have been coming and covering in the various matches. We are through to the quarterfinal stage on this coming Saturday, so we will know who the quarterfinalists are when we play the match versus the match on Wednesday.
Okay. All right. So I'm just going to go to the platform before we take a break to open up the phone lines. Somebody says, hi Kenton, presently the Ancillary Under 19 team is in competition, and I'm sure that you will approach to help out with the expenses of travel. Okay, you said hi Kenson. The person said hi Kenson, so I'm thinking that the person is addressing me. The Ancillary Under 19 team is in competition. I'm sure that you will approach to help out with the expenses of travel and eats of the youngsters up to this present day. You have shown no interest to their development. Furthermore, what are your plans for the development of cricket in the constituency of Ancillary Canaries? I guess the question is directed at you, not me.
A very good question. And, this is costing a lot of money. You can't do everything. However, I don't think it's also fair to say that I've shown no interest. I think that Mr. John Smith can tell you that I have personally delivered a set of cricket gears to the cricket fraternity. That's been covered, that's on tape, and I thank John very, very much for his own contribution to the sport. I've been admiring his work since I did organize cricket, but MPs have very, very limited amounts of personal funds. But I want to say to him that I have found him a sponsor, and I will be in touch with him in a couple of days.
Okay, all right. So you get the answer right away.
Yeah.
All right. Somebody says, while the idea may sound good, I think the coaches should be in the schools. That sounds a bit incomplete. I guess the idea of the
but it's good. I think it's good that we have a chance to have that discussion, because what you do is you want to ensure that there's consultation. But one of the things that we must not be short of are ideas, and we must continue to really come up with ideas. We must, continue to challenge each other to think differently and come up with new things. It's the only way we will improve.
Yeah. Okay, that person is being facetious. All right. So what we'll do is, all right, we're gonna take our last break. After that, we'll get into some more messages, and we're going to also open the phone lines. And obviously, the number to call is 451-9788. We're going to open the phone lines for your questions, your queries, and your comments. All right. So we'll take a break. We'll be right back. Okay, so welcome back to 758 Sports Talk. The number to call is 451-9788. That's 451-9788. Of course, you can send your messages at 488-0929. That's 488-0929. We have a couple of messages. Somebody says, "Hi, good evening. I must say kudos to Mr. Fede for bringing cricket thus far from Sanders Academy, and this far from Cricket Academy, and I must say thanks to him for the development of cricket from 2004, and most of who attended are indeed good players. I guess who attended the Cricket Academy are good players. Thanks to him once more. That's your first set of boys, Mr. Fede." I guess that's somebody amongst the first set.
Well, I'm very, very proud of all of them. They've been, the under-15 team continues to play very, very well, and they continue to win, and they continue to do an outstanding job. And, it's just such a pleasure.
All right. Somebody says, I guess with regards to the cricket, not cricket, the Center of Excellence, that would give everyone a better chance. I think government should demand more from corporate St. Lucia to put more into sports. I think that we can get on top like other islands.
I think that person is absolutely right as it pertains to our capacity to getting to the top. I mean, if you think of Grenada, getting an Olympic gold medalist,
yeah.
And well known for his outstanding work in sports. Why can't we? Of course we can.
Yeah. All right. Somebody says Manchester City couldn't even win the second leg. Come on, guys. Check what you're sending. Before you send it, and you'll give it power. All right. The history of the Champions League has shown to win it. You have to beat the best. So Liverpool will win after we eliminate Manchester City. And the person says, "Blessed love." Good luck with that. Somebody says, "I think Bayern I guess Bayern is back." All right. I have no idea what they had in front of that. All right. Okay. Okay, all right. So I somebody's pointing me to some other information I have, but I did not get to earlier tonight on the Q Sports Inc. Crystal Cup 2018 pool tournament sponsored by a couple of people. People like to send about 1 million sponsors in their press releases and so on and so forth. That competition is ongoing. I'll get back to that in a little bit. We have our very first caller. Good evening. You're live on 758 Sports Talk. Go ahead for your contribution.
Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Minister.
Good evening, sir.
Mr. Minister, listening to you, I believe that it's not the matter of the talent that West Indies do not have. Because if you go down the line, we have a lot of good players. We have talented players also. And we have we can select teams that can actually perform to the highest level and win games. But what I think West Indies is suffering right now is the selectors and the coaches and by extension the management team. Because I believe that right now they are playing politics with the West Indies cricket team. We just recently won a T20 World Cup.
Mm-hmm.
And not one player that can make a West Indies team right now. And I don't know if I know you are a very busy man, Mr. Minister, but if you follow the qualifying games that West Indies play to qualify, Kenson, you must have seen it.
Mm-hmm.
Do you see at any time these guys can compete? Watching the game yesterday, I heard a woman ask, what's the physio, Mohammed?
Mm-hmm.
I heard the lady ask, as you, I know that that team is struggling. You are from the Caribbean. Can you name a team that can compete in the World Cup? Because automatically, as though the woman just dismissed that team.
Exactly.
Okay?
That's what has happened.
Up to now, my brother, the commentator could not name one player. Is it because of biasness or something that he did not name one player? I wish to know. Because I don't know what is wrong with our selectors and our coaches.
Caller, you could give me 10 minutes and I can sit down and put together from the region a World Cup team from our region. Just take any sort of occurrences in the past, impasses with the players and the cricket board and that sort of thing. Just tell me, give me 10 minutes and tell me put an 11 together that could go out and compete in that World Cup, and I can do it for you in less than 10 minutes.
Exactly.
To answer your question.
Kinson, my son, that is 14.
Mm-hmm.
Within 5 minutes, he put down the names of 2 teams.
Yeah.
And that is World Cup teams that can perform and win games.
From the region.
From the region. And and seeing what is happening there, I don't believe that is a West Indies team, number one. I believe that is a team that the selectors and the coaches just have that emerge from somewhere. Because a lot of the guys, no disrespect to the players, but a lot of the players, Kingston, like, they just emerge on the scene, like you had never heard of them before, although we do not follow every cricket all around the region.
Mm-hmm.
Like Shy Hope, Chain Hope, Chase. I'm not saying that they were not playing in Barbados, but yet still, you never heard of these fellas. Hitmaya is a very young...
Promising player.
Mm-hmm. Okay, kudos to Hitmaya. Because I saw him play in the Under-19 World Cup, and I believe this guy needs to be on the team that he can be nurtured. But apart from Hitmaya and Captain Holder, that is a good developing all-rounder, brother, I don't see nobody else on the team. Chris Gale is of age.
On his way out.
He's not supposed to be in that team.
What about Balan Samuel?
Balan Samuel, my brother, Balan Samuel has lost everything that he had. Balan Samuel must not be on that team. And the rest of the players, I do not know I don't know what they are playing. Because directly They are not playing 50 overs cricket. They are not playing test match cricket. Neither are they playing 2020 cricket. Thank you, my brother.
All right. Thank you so much for your contribution. But the funny thing is, Dominic, if you think back and you've been objective, before all those impasse between the players, Weeper and Dave Cameron and that sort of stuff, we really weren't doing all that well. You know, we still were subpar. I mean, over the years we've seen some players emerge in terms of 2020 cricket, but in terms of the 50 over format, I can't really say. After I said what I said, I listened to myself and I was like, the team I had pictured on paper, are we still going to win or are we just going to compete? Because pretty much the chasm seems so wide.
Well, I think a number of things have emerged really when we look at what is happening with West Indies cricket. I think that the sociological importance of the game has changed. And it is going to be very difficult now in this era of business, in this era of commerce, to dictate to any player who's not sure of his lifespan and who has other alternatives like the IPL, which has ushered in an era of lucrative pay for cricketers. And it will be very difficult for any of us to dictate to them what to do, when to do, and how much to earn for their living. And so there must be a good management of that situation. There must be a balance. And it needs very shrewd and wise management. We don't have a wide talent pool to choose from. That's one. Secondly, yes, we need good administration, but we also need talent. And we need a brand. You know, we spoke about businesses getting involved just a short time ago. And businesses will only get involved if you have a winning brand. And it is as simple as that. So one has got to consider the value of the players, the value of the talent, and one has got to consider which era are we in our cricket development. It certainly isn't when Frank Worrell played and he was the first black captain. We've passed that era a long time ago.
Definitely. All right, somebody says when we talk sports, it should be all disciplines. All are in need of assistance. Once we are dealing with the youth effort by the authorities, it should be extended.
I absolutely agree with that. The authorities should do as much as they can. They should try their best.
All right. Yeah, good evening. You're live. Go ahead with your contribution, caller. Turn your radio or television set down.
Don't forget Sulman Ambrose, Darren Bravo. He left out all his key players.
Yeah, but the point I was making to Dominic was, okay, so we talk about Bravo, and yes, we could argue that they've developed over the last years. We've seen their development in the 2020 format of the game. But if you think back to before that debacle in India, West Indies really was not faring all that well with the likes of Bravo, with both Bravos.
No, it's the young Bravo, you know, I'm speaking about.
The young Bravo.
We have the young Ambrose. He came up with the win-word.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Sunil Ambrose. Okay. Yeah, go ahead for contribution.
Without cutting it short, Kenson, I recall watching a sports map show, and Marlon Samuels came up and said, we have Rakim Cornwell, and he overheard that one of the coaching staff and the selector said, oh, this guy is too fat. So you see?
But I wonder how long ago that was, because Cornwell has absolutely...
This caller's voice sounds very familiar. Are you who I think you are, caller?
Yes, Mr. Minister.
Oh, okay. You're calling from Belvedere?
Yes,
Mr. Recognize Minister. That voice. This young man is like you. He's a good cricketer as well. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. You were saying?
Yes, so basically, if we have to do everything, we'll have to start from the top. From Mr. Dave Cameron, you know, of course. I'm not the one supposed to call names, but, you know, we'll reshuffle.
Definitely. All right, well, definitely young Bravo.
Dominic Fede, he's breaking grounds in the Candice playing field, and works is about 60 to 75%, and he's going good. Kudos to Mr. Dominic.
Thank you, sir. Now we need a court for Belvedere.
Okay.
I want to say to you that today, Cabinet made me very, very proud. They have approved a land acquisition in the Anslavadi community. And you would know very well that the youngsters, when we were passing, we would see them playing football on the road. And we're about to rectify that problem because we have the money to build a court and we now have the land. So that's very, very good news for the people of Anslavady. And I know that you have been advocating for a court for your community, and I, as your parliamentary rep, I have heard you, and I just want you to know that it's something we must accomplish before the next elections.
I do thank you again.
Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you very much for your contribution, caller. Anslavady, I have property in Anslavady. I'm not sure if I told you, but apparently I may have to move there. All right, somebody says, Mr. Fede, the ancillary field needs refurbishing. I hope after all these football games that you support the cause to close the field because it is in a deplorable state. It's a cricket season and the young cricketers can't use it to practice their craft for so long. We continue to play all cricket games away. What you say to these issues? So just hold that. We have our next caller. Good evening. You're live. Go ahead for contribution.
Yeah, good evening, Kevin.
Good evening.
The minister. You talk about West Indies cricket. And it's about 20 years. West Indies run the cricket, the world cricket, right? They win, right?
Correct.
How many teams I was playing? That is world cricket. To me, that's about 9 or 8 teams. How many teams I was playing cricket in these name days? How many islands? How many countries playing cricket?
Well, you certainly had.
Cricket up out there.
Caller, you certainly had some of the. Hold on. You certainly had some of the best teams.
Yeah, so you talk a little louder.
Yeah. Caller, you certainly had some of the best teams of all time playing in that era, and so you would have had Australia, England, West Indies, Pakistan, India. Sri Lanka would have been around as well. And then you had the West Indies. You also had a number of the affiliate teams, as you do now. So there certainly has been a number of teams that have been part of the setup. In fact, if you recall when Gordon Greenidge retired, Bangladesh was already playing Test cricket.
Yeah, Mr. Minister, yes, I follow cricket sometimes, all right? It's the same thing. When you say about world cricket, most of the countries wasn't playing world cricket. It's about 9 or 10 teams playing cricket. To me, they're not world. To me, you're saying world. To me, they're not world. They have no Russia, no Germany, no China, no Egypt.
But if that is the competing nations in the competition,
how be a world cricket? It's a 11 team you beat 11 teams.
It's not track and field, boss.
That cannot be world.
It's not track and field where you have every single country in the world participating in track and field. Germany doesn't play cricket.
Money is world. Basketball, football, everybody plays basketball, football. Cricket was about, in them days, in the 70s, about 10 teams or 8 teams to play.
So what would you call it then?
They're not a world.
So what would you call the competition? What would you call the global competition where you have a team from the Caribbean, you have a team from Europe, you have a team from Africa, you have a team from India, you have a team from Australia, you may have a team from North America. So what would you call the competition then?
Majority team not playing. Majority of the countries is not playing.
But we just saw qualifier. Just like World Cup football.
Countries or 200, only 10 teams playing. That is world. The biggest country playing. That is world. That can be world. That's a world. That to me, that can't be world cricket. Okay.
You know why I agree with you? If you look at basketball and you listen to Americans, when somebody wins a NBA basketball competition, they say they win the world. Now I agree to baseball they call the World Series, and the American football they say the champions of the world. They describe it that way. That is one instance. But when you look at a competition where there's still there's a qualifier. So just like with World Cup, listen for a little bit. Listen for a little bit. Yeah. Just like with World Cup football, you have the qualifiers for the World Cup, for the final 32 teams for the World Cup.
All the teams playing.
Yeah. Yes, but Russia we can have a similar dynamic where
everybody playing to qualify. But when you have world cricket, how many teams playing? Long time ago, Afghanistan wasn't there. Egypt not there. Tehran not there. China not there. Germany not there. Russia.
But I've asked you a simple question.
But I've
asked you a simple question. If you have not answered the question, I'm not disagreeing with you per se. I'm just asking you, what would you call a competition that features a team from the Caribbean, a team from Australia, a team from South America, A team from Asia, a couple teams from Asia. What would you call a competition?
Puerto Rico are playing. How much of the
Caribbean? You go back to the same thing. You haven't answered my question, huh?
Olympics not playing. So what about the world?
You have a track and field perspective of your argument is a track and field perspective where every single country competes. If you look at the history of cricket, cricket was invented in England, and the people that they actually colonialize are those that are involved in cricket.
I agree.
So at the end of the day, you have a system where individuals spread throughout the world. You have a Caribbean team, you have a South African team, South Africa. You have a number of African teams. Look at Nigeria. Exactly. Nigeria will try to compete in the World Cup. What's that?
In the 70s, they wasn't playing, no?
Yes, a lot of the countries are recent in terms of their but some of them were.
South Africa had an interrupted history.
Yeah, South Africa
was playing in the 60s.
South Africa wasn't playing cricket, nothing, but they was banned.
Yeah, they were banned for what?
To me, that whole team, okay? That's my opinion. The same way you tell me, when you go down, they tell you, Canada is not American, Brazil is not American, Guyana is not American. You know, same they just tell me that. They're saying that, and I don't believe that. But once you're on the continent of America, you're American. Okay?
Boy, you've lost that argument.
Okay? So, to me, that's not the whole series, okay?
Thank you very much.
Enjoy your night. Bye.
Thank you.
I remember my girl broke the record, you know. My girl broke the record. 23.74.
Yes, the 200 meter national record.
That's top thing.
Yeah.
Top thing, you know.
Top thing indeed, yeah.
You know, break national record. Come third in the most the competitive school games in the world. Yes, your competition, you wasn't there.
So in other words, I didn't see it, I didn't get to see it.
That's a top thing, you know. And we come back home, we have no welcome, we come down home, nobody, you know, we just see. So when about sports, we only talking sports, Kenson. But reality, we don't help sports. We only talking, we are talkers. But to put the talk into action, no action. But I always dare my children. When survivors there, me dare my children, okay? So remember that, and that's a record, okay? And talk about that. Not about footballer, a guy throw a goal. No, talk about she. Come from Saturday.
And you need to give your association some pressure in terms of PR, in terms of putting stuff out there.
Our association, that person like me, tell me I don't sit there, I ain't going nowhere. That's what he say, you know.
That's your association.
And he don't like the train, you know. All right, we want double. Can say we want double. The double female after the year. Did he say anything? They have to say, boy, yours for them congratulating the children. Nothing else saying. Who do the write up? Not them do the write up. We are do the write up. See? She come from where? We come from Trinidad, Jamaica. They only pay a ticket. Who takes responsibility of bringing on Trinidad? Going to bring out to the home guest house and give her food and thing. Me. Not the association is me.
Mr. Modest, keep up your good work. I must tell you. I mean,
I will not contributing.
Yes, sir.
Contribute.
Yes, sir.
And don't talk, okay? And don't say have a good night.
Keep up the good work. I want to tell you, keep up the good work. Keep up the good work for sure. Don't be discouraged. Don't be discouraged. We've been seeing the results from your athletes, so it's good.
Children out from the ghettos or the streets, okay, and make them from good citizens. That's what I care about. I don't Roman talk. I say if I give children shoes and things, you never say I say that. But every day giving them shoes and things, clothes and water, I don't say that. Guys, for me to know, and when children know I'm helping them, I don't have to go on the business and say, yes, we give them things. No. You understand that? That's what I just do, okay? When I'm going to help them out, I'm fine with that. But I remember my days, okay? Have a good night. Bye.
Thank you very much, sir. A couple of things. First of all,
very enthusiastic.
First of all,
you can tell that he's a community organizer.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know.
I mean, grassroots as they come. I mean, he works from the bottom up, but I mean, he's nurtured most any track and field talent. He's done work with them all throughout. I mean,
just allow me a minute just to say congratulations to him, and that I'm very, very pleased by his call. And it's people like that drives our communities and build our people. And these are the unsung
But I still disagree. It's a World Cup. I still disagree. I'm sorry. Unless you could give me another name to call a competition. He has won his argument in terms of saying it does not represent every country in the world. And I mean, that is a fact. But you cannot have a competition where you've taken teams from every corner of the world and call it anything but a World Cup. I just want you to find another name and then I will shut up. If you call it what? I don't know. Think of something. But I understand what he's saying. Now, he's coming from obvious track and field background where every single country has a chance to compete in an Olympic, which is a global event.
Very passionate.
Yeah.
Very passionate. I enjoy this call.
Yeah.
Enjoy this call.
Yeah. Anyway, let me get to some of the messages. Somebody sent a message before we got to the call. Yes. Yes. Basically, I hope after all these football games that you support the cause to close the playing field. For long, we continue to play on all cricket games away. And the person also went on to say that what are your plans for the drain on the perimeter? And I remember coming to the field and seeing the black sort of water around the field. It's unsightly, and I was wondering, wow. The person went on to say, what are your plans for the drain on the perimeter of the playing field? You campaign on it and would like to see you deliver. All right, so
well, let's go now with the playing field. I think that we need to sort of get all the sporting clubs together before we make a decision on what is the way forward. I think that they've had some enhancements to the field. It's one of the playing fields in the West Coast with lights, and I think that that's really, really good. I think we spoke earlier about the seating capacity. I would certainly like to extend the dressing room. I think it's too cramped, it's too small, and it's very, very difficult to house two teams in that dressing room. So that's one of the things that we've inherited. The drain has been a major source of concern to me. I think that not only is it unsightly, but it is unhealthy. And what it is the embankment which was built to avoid the rivers from overflowing its banks has actually interrupted the free flow of the seawater coming in from the St. Lawrence River. And I think that has affected it significantly. I've written to the Ministry of Infrastructure. The engineers have actually done a study on it. They have written a report to the chief engineer for remedial work to be done on the field. And this is something that is one of my priorities to be done.
Okay. The Old Help Center seems to be an ideal complement to youth and sports in Ancillary. What are your government's plans for this building? In my view, it could be part of a sporting complex with a court next to it.
Yeah. Well, the Old Health Center, there were some consultations done by the Ministry of Health, even before my time. And what those consultations spoke to was to find a location for a new health center for Ancillary. The report which was brought to my attention when I came in suggested that the community agreed that that was the ideal location, both in terms of the fact that there are a lot of disputed lands in Ancillary, one, and secondly, this is really within the hub of the community. It is very central to the population center of the community. There were recommendations to raise the level of the ground so that in times of flooding or natural disasters, that the health center would actually be immune from flooding. And this facility then would be significantly enhanced. In fact, there is a bolt agreement signed with NIPRO, which I've been working on. And we've gotten the Ministry of Finance to approve a $10 million bolt agreement to reconstruct a new health center for the community of Ancillary. It's been proving insufficient. The current site, which is up the hill in the Ottawa area, and it creates a problem with access. And so therefore what we're doing is ensuring that maybe come a year and a half we should have a new health center. But NIPRO will go to tender this job very, very soon. But that monies have been approved.
All right. All right. Somebody says, since one of the main objectives of the government is to create jobs, I'm wondering, could you guys look into the development or help develop a semi-professional football system so that some of St. Lucia's aspiring players get a chance to live their dream while improvement is made pertaining to unemployment.
And again, there you go, Kenson. I think this caller made the point that we were making earlier, and that is that sports has got to play its rightful role in the development of our country, not just from the point of view of youth and sports development, but from the point of view of the economics of the country, by providing jobs, by providing opportunities for revenue for governments to taking new tax revenue. It provides an opportunity for us to create more stars so that it can help us as a tourism-dependent region. Just imagine what someone like Usain Bolt does for Jamaica as a brand, and how many people would have heard about that country because of him. And I think in the very same way when we produce stars, people hear about our country. That becomes even more significant for us as a tourism-dependent country. But not to veer off from what the contributor is saying, I think he has made a very, very valid point. When I go to bed thinking every day, I don't think of unemployment in terms of the 20% of the people unemployed. I think of the fact that there are 20,000 people that are in search of jobs. So the task before us is a mammoth one. No, not impossible, but I think that it is very critical that we extract and we use every single opportunity we have to create jobs and create economic opportunity for people. And the sports industry, which is a multi-billion-dollar industry, does have a number of opportunities for our people. But Kenson, it does one thing. And what it does, it suggests to us that sports cannot just be seen as recreation and exercising and fitness, but it must also be seen as a business from this point of view. And if we approach it from the point of view of a business, and there we talk about leveraging sponsorship and getting sponsors involved, but we must first create winners to excite the private sector so that they feel that they are getting return on investment from their advertising dollar when they would have invested in a player, when they would have invested in a sport, that it is going to generate a good return on investment for their company.
All right. Somebody says good night to you and your guests. Person just wanted to say good night. Somebody says, so is the answer yes to the last question? I guess pertaining to creating jobs and that sort of stuff.
Absolutely, yes. Absolutely. It makes a good point.
All right, so we really have to wrap up. I've seen the messages come in. Somebody says, congrats to Bino Wellington for winning the Lofted Pass Challenge at the Flow Manchester Challenge in Trinidad, a product of the Big Players Academy and the Masha. Just like Mr. Modest said in terms of Gillian Alfred's performance overseas, again, we saw this come across from Facebook that he had won. And let me just tell people, a lot of the times some of the stuff you would notice that perhaps I didn't read it, I did not put it out there and that sort of stuff. I'm always just cautious when I get information from Facebook. We have associations, just like I asked him in terms of there's a track and field, there's a local association, there's a PRO and that sort of thing, a football association. And so sometimes I'm just hesitant to put stuff out. So it's not that we do not know of the information, Dominic, because you've worked in the media. And sometimes you see something on Facebook and some people just hasten to put it out, and then you only have to come back and find out, okay, from the association that this is not really the case. I did see this story.
Junior let you down.
Yeah. I did see this story, but we'll definitely follow up on it and see what's going on. All right, so Mr. Fede, thank you for joining us. I mean, any last words you want to
I just want to say that I'm very proud of you. You're doing very, very well. It's great to see you develop as a journalist. You've done a fantastic job, and certainly you've become one of the leading voices now in sports coverage in St. Lucia, certainly. And it's good to see you. Yeah. And your commitment has paid off, and I know you have a very, very deep interest in sports. And I want to thank all of the callers tonight, all of your contributors, for making the show possible and for their wonderful comments and viewpoints on the range of issues that we've discussed tonight. And I want to leave them with the assurance that my government is actually very committed to the development of sports. This year we're spending over $8 million as the agency allocation for the development of sports in St. Lucia. And it is really a testimony of our commitment. In addition to this, we are also going to be spending some of our allocations from the Taiwanese Cooperation Agreement on sport development to ensure that we enhance our playing fields. We have instituted a plan as well to have our playing fields be managed by the constituency councils so that they can receive a more focused attention. When we came in, the National Lottery Authority was very, very broke, and we encountered some difficulty in trying to get our playing field management up to par and where we would like it to be. And so what we've been able to do as a result is now to rectify that problem. The lottery was actually in the red when we came in, and we've now been able to recuperate monies to reinvest in the sporting talent. But we're not just focusing on playing fields and focusing on the competition, but we're looking at the club structure as well. And we're also looking, Kenson, at creating a framework so that you have the best opportunity for the development of our players. And I'm very, very excited. I wish I was playing sports now. And I know that the Minister of Sport is extremely committed, a national sportsman himself, and has done a tremendous job. And it's such a pleasure to work with him. It's an inspiration in the cabinet. So I want to thank you again, Kenson, and thanks to your callers for having me.
All right, thank you very much for joining our set. And of course, as usual, St. Lucia, thank you for welcoming us into your homes. Of course, we really could not get to all of the messages. There was so much coming in. Just got information that Brown University, they defeated Rogues again. St. Lucia Rugby Football Union, I'm waiting on that official press release so that we could tie up everything together along with Mr. Butcher's interview. Of course, Dominic Fede Cup ongoing at the Ancillary Playing Field, and of course the Marigo Playing Field. I mean, we've been showing you guys the pictures from all the activities over there. We are at the cusp of the quarterfinal stage. We are almost at the quarterfinal stage.
Almost at the quarterfinals.
Yeah, and quarterfinals is going to be home and away. So, I mean, Champions League style. Then semifinals, home and away. And then the big final. Obviously, they will make an announcement on the venue. More than likely, it'll be answering in terms of the lighting. But I wouldn't put it beyond them to take some lights and bring it over to the Marigo Playing Field. But stay tuned. Obviously, DBS will be giving you all the information.
That's exactly
I tell you, I wouldn't put it past you. I wouldn't put it past you. All right, so stay tuned to DBS. Of course, you've been getting all your information from us. And on behalf of our entire sports team, I'm Kenson Casimir. Enjoy the rest of your night.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks for coming.